Welcome to the physiology class. Today I am going to discuss about thyroid gland. Thyroid is an endocrine gland situated at the root of the neck on either side of the trachea. It has two lobes which are connected in the middle by an isthmus. Its weight is about 20 to 40 grams in adult. Thyroid is larger in female than in males. The structure and functions of the thyroid gland change in different stages of sexual cycles in females. Next is about the histology of thyroid gland. Thyroid gland is composed of large number of closed follicles. These follicles are lined with the cuboidal epithelial cells which are called the follicular cells. Follicular cavity is filled with a colloidal substance known as thyroglobulin, which is secreted by the follicular cells. Follicular cells also secrete tetraiodothyronine, that is T4 or thyroxine, and triiodothyronine or T3. In between these follicles, the parafollicular cells also present. These cells secrete calcitonin. These are the three hormones secreted by thyroid gland. Next is about synthesis of thyroid hormone, which includes 5 steps. The first stage is thyroglobulin synthesis. Second stage is iodide trapping. Third step is oxidation of iodine. Fourth step is iodination of tyrosine. And the last step is coupling reactions. This diagram showing the synthesis of thyroid hormone. I'll explain about the first step, that is thyroglobulin synthesis. Endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi apparatus in the follicular cells of thyroid gland synthesize and secrete thyroglobulin continuously. Thyroglobulin molecule is a large glycoprotein containing 140 molecules of amino acid tyrosine. After synthesis, thyroglobulin is stored in the follicle. The second step is iodide trapping. Iodide is actively transported from the blood into follicular cells. This process is called iodide trapping. Iodide is transported into follicular cells along with the sodium by sodium iodide symport pump, which is also called iodide pump. The third step is oxidation of iodide. In this step, the iodide must be oxidized to elementary iodine because only iodine is capable of combining with the tyrosine to form thyroid hormone. The oxidation of iodide into iodine occurs inside the follicular cells in the presence of thyroid peroxidase. Absence or inactivity of this enzyme stop the synthesis of thyroid hormone. Next step is transport of iodine into follicular cavity. From the follicular cells, iodine is transported into the follicular cavity by an iodide chloride pump, that is called pendrin. The next step is iodination of tyrosine. Combination of iodine with tyrosine is known as iodination. It takes place in thyroglobulin. First, the iodine is transported from follicular cells into follicular cavity, where it binds with the thyroglobulin. This process is called organification of thyroglobulin. Then, iodine combined with the tyrosine, which is already present in the thyroglobulin. Iodination process is accelerated by the enzyme iodinase, which is secreted by follicular cells. Iodination of thyrosin occurs in severe stages. Thyrosin is iodized first into MIT and later into DIT. MIT means monoiodotyrosine and DIT means diiodotyrosine. MIT and DIT are the iodotyrosine residues. And the last step is coupling reactions. Iodotyrosine residues get coupled with one another. The coupling occurs in different configurations to give rise to different thyroid hormones. Coupling reactions. Tyrosine plus one iodine molecule give rise to MIT. One MIT plus one iodine give rise to DIT. One DIT plus one MIT will give T3. MIT plus DIT will give rise to RT3 or reverse RT3. DIT plus DIT gives thyroxine or T4. Next, functions of thyroid hormones. First action is on basal metabolic rate or BMR. Thyroxine increases the metabolic activities in most of the body tissues except brain, retina, spleen, testes and lungs. It increases BMR by increasing the oxygen consumption of the tissues. The action that increases the BMR is called calorigenic action. In hyperthyroidism, BMR increases by about 60% to 100% above the normal level. And in hypothyroidism, it falls by 20% to 40% below the normal level. Next is action on protein metabolism. Thyroid hormone increases the synthesis of protein in the cells. The protein synthesis is accelerated by the following ways. The first step is increase in the translation of RNA. Thyroid hormone increases the translation of RNA in the cells. Because of this, ribosomes are activated and more proteins are synthesized. The second step is transcription of DNA to RNA. Thyroid hormone also stimulates the transcription of DNA to RNA. This in turn accelerates the synthesis of proteins in the cells. Next, by increasing the activity of mitochondria. In addition to acting at nucleus, thyroid hormones act at mitochondrial level also. It increases the number and activity of mitochondria in most of the cells of the body. Thyroid hormone accelerates the synthesis of RNA and other substances from mitochondria by accelerating series of enzymes. In turn, the mitochondria increases the production of ATP, which is utilized for the energy required for cellular activities. Next is by increasing the activity of cellular enzyme. Thyroid hormone also increases the activity of at least 100 or more intracellular enzymes such as alpha glycerophosphate dehydrogenase and oxidative enzymes. Next is about action on carbohydrate metabolism. Thyroxine stimulates almost all processes involved in the metabolism of carbohydrates. Thyroxine increases the absorption of glucose from GIT. Thyroxine enhances the glucose uptake by the cells by accelerating the transport of glucose through the cell membrane, and It also increases the breakdown of glycogen into glucose. And lastly, it accelerates gluconeogenesis. Next is action on fat metabolism. Thyroxine decreases the fat storage by mobilizing it from adipose tissue and fat depots. The mobilized fat is converted into free fatty acid and transported by the blood. Thus, thyroxine increases the free fatty acid level in the blood. Next is action on body temperature. Thyroid hormone increases the heat production in the body by accelerating various cellular metabolic processes and increasing the BMR. It is called thyroid hormone induced thermogenesis. During hypertension of thyroxine, the body temperature increases greatly, resulting excess sweating. Next is about the action on body weight. Thyroxine is essential for maintaining the body weight. Increasing thyroxine secretion decreases the body weight and fat storage. Decrease in thyroxine secretion increases the body weight because of fat deposition. Next is action on growth. Thyroid hormone have general and specific effect on growth. Increase in thyroxine secretion accelerate the growth of the body, especially in growing children. Lack of thyroxine arrests the growth. At the same time, thyroxine causes early closure of epiphyses. So the height of the individual may be slightly less in hypothyroidism. Thyroxine is more important to promote growth and development of brain during fetal life and first few years of postnatal life. Deficiency of thyroid hormone during this period leads to mental retardation. Next action is blood. Thyroxine accelerates erythropoietic activity and increases blood volume. It is one of the important general factors necessary for erythropoiesis. Polycythemia is common in hyperthyroidism. Next is action on cardiovascular system. Thyroxine increases the overall activity of cardiovascular system. Its action on heart rate. Thyroxine acts directly on heart and increases the heart rate. It is an important clinical investigation for diagnosis of hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. Next is its action on the force of contraction of the heart. Due to its effect on enzymatic activity, thyroxine generally increases the force of contraction of the heart. But in hyperthyroidism or in thyrotoxicosis, the heart may become weak due to excess activity and protein catabolism. So the patient may die of cardiac decompensation. Cardiac decompensation refers to failure of the heart to maintain adequate circulation associated with dyspnea, venous engorgement. Next, its action on blood vessel. Thyroxine causes vasodilatation by increasing the metabolic activities. During increased metabolic activities, a large quantity of metabolites is produced. These metabolites causes vasodilatation. Next is its action on arterial BP. Because of increase in rate and force of contraction of the heart, increase in blood volume and blood flow By the influence of thyroxine, cardiac output increases. This in turn increases the blood pressure. But generally, the mean blood pressure is not altered. Systolic pressure increases and the diastolic pressure decreases. So only the pulse pressure increases. Next is its action on respiration. Thyroxine increases the rate and force of respiration indirectly. The increased metabolic rate increases the demand for oxygen and formation of excess carbon dioxide. These two factors stimulate the respiratory centers to increase the rate and force of respiration. Next, its action on gastrointestinal tract. Generally, thyroxine increases the appetite and food intake. It also increases the secretion and movements of GIT. So the hypersecretion or thyroxine causes diarrhea and the lack of thyroxine causes constipation. Next, its action on central nervous system. Thyroxine is very essential for the development and maintenance of normal functioning of CNS. On development of CNS. Thyroxine is very important to promote growth and development of the brain during fetal life and during the first few years of postnatal life. Thyroxine deficiency in infants results in abnormal development of synapses, defective myelination and mental retardation. Next, its action on the normal functions of CNS. Thyroxine is a stimulating factor for central nervous system, particularly the brain. So the normal functioning of brain needs the presence of thyroxine. Thyroxine also increases the blood flow to brain. Thus, during the hypersecretion of thyroxine, there is excess stimulation of CNS. So, the person is likely to have extreme nervousness and may develop psychoneurotic problems such as anxiety complexes, excess worries, or paranoid thoughts. Hyposecretion of thyroxine leads to lethargy and somnolence, that means excess sleep. Next is action on sleep. Normal thyroxine level is necessary to maintain normal sleep pattern. Hypersecretion of thyroxine causes excessive stimulation of the muscles and central nervous system. So the person feels tired, exhausted and feels like sleeping. But the person cannot sleep because of the stimulatory effect of thyroxine on neurons. On the other hand, hyposecretion of thyroxine causes somnolence. Next is its action on skeletal muscle. Thyroxine is essential for the normal activity of skeletal muscles. Slight increase in the thyroxine level makes the muscles to work with more vigor. But hypersecretion of thyroxine causes weakness of the muscles due to catabolism of protein. This condition is called thyrotoxic myopathy. The muscles relax very slowly after the contraction. Hyperthyroidism also causes fine muscular tremor. The tremor occurs at the frequency of 10 to 15 times per second. It is due to the thyroxine-induced excess neurotonal activity, which controls the muscles. The lack of thyroxine makes the muscles more sluggish. Next is action on sexual function. Normal thyroxine level is essential for normal sexual functions. In men, hypothyroidism leads to complete loss of libido, that means sexual drive, and hyperthyroidism leads to impotence. In women, hypothyroidism causes menorrhagia and polymenorrhea. In some women, it causes irregular menstruation and occasionally amenorrhea. Hyperthyroidism in women leads to oligomenorrhea and sometimes amenorrhea. These are the functions of thyroid hormone. Thank you.